Satin shadows. The rain pelted against the windows, casting a soft rhythmic tap that seemed to echo in the heart of the night. Simone stood in the dim light of the cafe, the scent of fresh espresso mingling with the warm, inviting air. She glanced out the window, watching the storm blur the world beyond. Her fingers rested on the rim of her cup, her mind wandering. It had been a long day, one that stretched into a long week, and she was exhausted. But there was something in the air tonight that she couldn't ignore. The hum of the city seemed quieter, the buzz of her mind muted by the moment. And then, like an unexpected spark, she felt it, an undeniable shift in the atmosphere. A man stepped into the cafe, his presence cutting through the chatter like a blade. His coat, drenched from the rain, clung to his tall frame as he shook it off. His eyes, dark and intense, swept over the room before landing on her. She didn't look away. There was something magnetic about him, an unspoken invitation in his gaze. Their eyes met, and in that fleeting instant, Simone knew she had to know him. The man took a step toward her, and as if pulled by some invisible thread, she found herself standing to greet him. His movements were deliberate, graceful even, as though he carried the weight of the world on his shoulders, but wore it with ease. "Do you mind if I join you?" His voice was smooth, deep, a low murmur that stirred something inside her. Simone nodded, her heart beating faster than she could comprehend. "Please." He took the seat opposite her, his eyes never leaving hers. The tension between them was palpable, thick like the storm outside. She could feel the pull of it, the electricity in the air that neither of them dared to acknowledge. "I'm Marcus," he said, his lips curving into a faint smile. "Simone," she replied, her voice steady but betraying the warmth that was slowly creeping up her neck. She didn't know why, but she wanted him. She wanted to know everything about him. "I don't normally approach strangers," Marcus continued, his eyes flicking to her lips for a moment before returning to her eyes. "But there's something about tonight, about you, I can't ignore." Simone's breath caught in her throat. "I feel it too." The words hung between them, unspoken desires that neither of them had the courage to voice yet. The connection between them was undeniable, but it was more than just physical. It was a magnetic force that pulled at something deeper, something primal. The silence stretched, and then, as though they both arrived at the same conclusion, Marcus stood, his hand extended toward her, an invitation to step into the unknown. "Come with me," he said, his voice soft, coaxing. Without thinking, Simone stood. She didn't question why, didn't hesitate. She simply followed him out of the cafe, into the rain, the cold wetness of the night brushing against her skin. They walked in silence, the storm and echo of the whirlwind inside her chest. A few blocks later, they reached his house, an elegant brownstone, the warm golden light spilling from the windows like a beacon in the night. It felt like a place built for secrets, for moments that existed only in the shadows. He opened the door, and as she stepped inside, she was enveloped in the warmth of the space. The scent of wood, leather, and something darker, richer, filled the air. Marcus closed the door behind them, his gaze locked on her. "Do you trust me?" he asked, his voice low and commanding. Simone nodded, her pulse quickening. He smiled then, a slow, deliberate curve of his lips that made her heart flutter. "Good, because tonight is just for us." Without another word, he took her hand and led her through the house, his touch gentle but insistent, as though he knew exactly what she needed. Every movement he made was a promise, every look a question. When they reached the bedroom, the soft glow of candlelight flickered around the room, casting long shadows on the walls. Marcus turned to face her, his hand resting against the back of her neck, fingers brushing her skin. "Tonight," he whispered, "I want to taste every part of you." Simone's breath caught as he gently tilted her head back, his lips descending on hers with a quiet intensity that left her breathless. His kiss was slow, exploring, a deep connection that pulsed between them. It wasn't just about lust, it was about the raw, unspoken bond that had sparked between them from the moment they'd locked eyes. As his hands roamed, peeling away the layers of clothing between them, Simone felt her resistance falter. Every touch, every whispered word, felt like a promise of something more, a night of indulgence, a surrender to the unknown. And in the satin shadows of his bedroom, as the storm raged outside, they found themselves tangled in each other, lost in a connection that felt destined.